Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with the player that we don't deserve, but the one that Protoss desperately need right now. A hero, the Smiling Assassin. And stacked up against one of the best Zergs in Korea, it's Solar, the Rocky Zerg, with 6 Zerglings already on the way, which means we're skipping right to it, just like Solar is skipping the entire early game. So Jimmy, what are we... 1,413 likes, and I won't send 6 Zerglings to your door after this series is over. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. The panic alarms are going off, the probes are pulled, and the Zerglings are already at the base. Probes being slaughtered mercilessly, as since the Protoss never invented door-based technology, there's no way to keep them out. Solar abusing the wall-off on post-youth. A lot of players get a false sense of security by having a singular ramp to be able to protect. But if the Zerglings are rushing into your base at the 2-minute mark, well, that sense of security is severely misplaced. As right now, the Zerglings are inside the house, going for another probe kill. Now, it isn't cheap to go for this early on. He may get one more... Wow, that Stalker taking forever to fire at the Zerglings. So, the emotional damage was significant. The physical damage, somewhat less so. The Zerglings able to get several probe kills. Hero clearly taking that seriously. And maybe mismicroing the probes just a little bit to start things off. But overall, a good defense. He didn't outright panic. He didn't lose that first pylon. And a great mind game out of Solar, because you have this singular ramp. So rushing in with the Zerglings is very... This is such a gamble. Because if Hero had probe scouted at all, if he had sent it across the map... Well, hallucinated Phoenix to get the high ground vision to kill the Overlord. But if he had probe scouted at all, this build does nothing. And Solar is just way behind. As it stands right now, Hero is ahead in workers. He actually supply blocked Solar with that kill on the Overlord. And the reason he's so confident just going out on the map is you don't send those Zerglings in. You don't send those Zerglings across the map if you got Zergling speed on the way. If you got Banelings on the way. No, it was just a bunch of slowlings getting in so early and trying to rack up as much damage as possible. And even though Hero took some, overall, I think he's recovered very well. So Solar going to take his third base now. Roach Warren's on the way. And the Oracle will be out. Hero just kind of swerving back towards the center line here. What he likely expected to do before... and then swerving way back in the other direction because he's starting things off with a fleet beacon. Well, at least following them up. He reaches to the skies, and he's going to be rushing out. Carriers? Tempest? Mothership? But Hero taking the exact opposite tact here, where Solar went for the earliest possible ground rush. Hero is going to be speed running into the skies as double Stargate and a fleet beacon on the way. This is certainly a dramatic choice. Is it a good one? Well, we'll find out. And, well, two Tempests on the way. And tectonic destabilizers already as well. We've seen Hero try this a couple times. This is certainly the most unique scenario, with Solar being limited. Now, the key point is Solar's limited on the queens. We all know how important queens are for essentially tying the entirety of the Zerg together. But in this case, only 4 queens against any amount of Tempest is a difficult situation. Even with a lair on the way, you're going to need to get a Spire immediately. And to know to get a Spire, you have to see the Tempest coming at all. And right now, Solar has no... The Tempests are just kind of headed out, the first 2. So, getting the damage done early, likely more important than waiting out for 4 or 6 Tempests and sending him out after that. Tempest not really known as a worker harassment unit, but you work with what you have, and Tempest technically one-shot workers. They're like Liberators, except way more expensive, and require way more tech, and are easier to kill. It can't be repaired, but otherwise pretty much exactly the same. Revelation, the Tempest starts shelling the Queens. Have to stay at a great distance from the Tempest. The Spore Crawlers are moving in. A Tempest back at home. Not that Zerglings are going to care too much about it, at least most of the Zerglings. With Tectonic Destabilizers finishing, that extra damage versus the buildings could be dramatic. Now shelling the Queens. The Revelation, a huge part of this. And there's the Destabilizers, Dorito dusting that anti-ground attack. Meanwhile, Solar, just coming up the ramp. There is an Adept at the wall. 4 Tempests just scattering their fire as the Queens now have gathered to drive them away, trying to buy some time up until that Spire finishes. Wow, the hatchery is dying so fast. Is there a transfuse? And would it even matter? The Tempest Valley is doing massive damage, seriously destabilizing that hatchery and taking it out. So the half gold base is taken down. Hero's able to establish his third. Now the alternative gold in the center of the map is taken. Hero just working on it. And the Queens, well, oh my. It's enough Tempest now to one-shot. Suna, no! Brenda, she's gone. And we're all gonna be gone if we don't get that Spire done. I don't... Sorry, Another hatchery down as Hero just carves his way through the economy. Wow. Just barely enough. The overkill of these Tempests is massive, as they have a tendency to take a long while to wind up their shots and fire at their target. But once they do, obviously the larger the target, the better. So, in this case, the hatcheries working out quite well for Hero, who's at 62 probes up against 62 drones. Thing is, though, Solar is playing catch-up here. And certainly Hero bringing the mustard. Corruptor's on the field, but far too late to save the first 2 hatcheries. Void Ray lights up and burns away the Overseer. And Hero now working on the gold base of his own. Not the ideal. As a Zerg player in this position, you're just praying you can wipe out the air army and then beat them on the ground. But you're in such an awkward spot because you have to deal with this constant... it could be air, it could be ground. You don't know how much commitment there is to either side of this. So if Hero just ends up going for Storm and Charge Lots and Immortals potentially, like it looks like he's angling for, and you're sitting there with 35 Tempests, 35 Corruptors, sure, you might beat the Tempest, but then you have to go spray and pray on some of the buildings. But if you don't have enough anti-air, you just lose anyways, because there's no challenging the Tempest in the sky. So it's a calculated risk here for Solar, who has barely enough economy to match Hero's supply, and certainly doesn't have enough to reliably tech up. Well. The Roach Ravager looking to crash into the base yet again. Corruptors over the top. Shield battery overcharge. Hasn't even taken down a Void Ray yet. Scatters out the corrosive bile, but he doesn't even hit the force fields that are locking in some of the roaches. And the Tempest just continue shelling. The Ravager count is so damn high. 14 Ravagers out there. And Blank Stalker's blunking forward. Storm is still 6 seconds out. 6 very long seconds as the Tempest. The Corruptor's diving right on top of them. The Storm's on the Ravagers, though, as they come down the ramp, wading into it, and get out with still most of their HP intact. Solar is grinding his way through. Corrosive Bile is a dangerous option if he's Hero has been known to leave his units out in corrosive bile occasionally before, so it's Solar working with what he has at the moment, but the storms again will slice into the HP of the army, and the Blink Stalkers looking to finish the job. Corruptors in the main. Caustic spray on the base, but he doesn't want to lose any Corruptors while there's still an option for a switch back into Tempest or even worse, carriers. The Blink Stalkers challenging. The Tempests continue to shell. The Corruptors coming back around, but Hero dipping a bit on supply. Solar does not have a hive. He does not have a lurker down. Blunks forward with the Stalkers. Corrosive Bile just steps back over the top. Archon taken down. A second one might be targeted as well. The Tempest count dwindles to just 2. Yes, barely 2. And there's only 3 Corruptors left. Hero, it feels like he's beating back this army, but the supply is telling a somewhat different story. Now, the Roach Ravager is some of the most supply inefficient army you can build in the game. All right, you're going to have 180, 190 supply, but it's about the same army value, despite being 40 supply higher, as Hero's Blink Stalker Tempest army, which isn't even that expensive in the grand scheme of things, compared to, say, like, Immortals and Templar. But Corruptors, and he blunts forward yet again. He keeps blinking past the vials, but now he's taking so much damage, getting slammed by another wave, and there's no more storms to counteract it. Hero's down 40 supply. He's kind of squandered the advantage that the Tempest gave him early, and is now forced to fight against an overwhelming Zerg army on the ground. The missile attacks, the Zerglings darting up towards the main, and Hero manages to warp in time. Dark Shrine is on the way. A Shrine to Dark, always a strong option. Hero, his greatest nemesis. A Zealot still slicing. The upgrades are good for Hero. He's going to have 3-2 momentarily. Another exchange. Ravagers arc out. And this time, coming in from another angle. Almost kills a Tempest with Corrosive Bile. He's down to just 1. He's building more. The mass Tempest plays, and guns down 1 with the Corrosive Biles, and Solar just keeps working his way forward, grinding through with wave upon wave. Surprising he's not the one with the storm. More Tempests come out. The Corruptor count dwindled long ago. There's only 1 Overseer, and the Dark Shrine is done, so Hero, while it's been trending towards Solar for a while. Oh, no, 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 no! Corrosive Bile knocks out most of 2 more Tempests. A retaliatory storm scratches the Roaches and Ravagers. But overall, with the Dark Templar coming in, may change things up. The tactical Dark Templar, just at the right time to turn the tide. Just as it looked like Solar was going to get into a good position to actually hurt Hero's economy, just like in the campaign, the DTs come in and make everyone confused. All right, more storms slicing through, storming his own Dark Templar, but they can handle it. And the Roaches and Ravagers will be mostly a Oh my God, look at Solar supply. It just jumped off a cliff. And is there a bottom for him to plummet into? Or will Hero continue to pound him deeper? Moving on. Check out my drone cam. Overlord speed on the way for the Overseers, which are hanging out way too close to the Protoss army. Again, snipes off yet another one. DT waltzes into the fray. And the Storm Templar combo. The unlikely friends here. The Templar of both varieties will put together. Put Hero in a very comfortable position. Just a couple minutes ago, it looked like Solar was making so much progress. But lacking detection, losing this many drones, the bases, from the very start, this game has been all over the place. But while Hero's early defense was top-notch, the mid-game went to Solar and his just aggressive timings. But now, once again, it's Hero's game to lose. The Zealots, oh no, the mineral wall was actually mined out, which most of the time is a good thing for the Zerg, but not when the Zealots come streaming in. 50 supply gap. The Tempest might not have been the decider, but they certainly set the tone. as Hero takes game number 1. A pretty decisive victory at the end. The classic mistake, so we're pretty notorious for some lackadaisical micro on his Overseers. This is not the first series, or first game rather, I've seen Solar end up losing because of a lack of detection, which makes him such a relatable player. But currently the one, down 1-0. We're going to Oceanborn, game 2. Hero with a solid lead and a willingness to put those Tempests on the field. I love the choice to go for, I think it was almost a 12 pull, 13 pull maybe, so a little bit later from Solar, just to start things off. And it was a smart map choice because probe scouts are much more rare on a map where you can just wall off like that. You're very unlikely to get the probe in to block their base and mess up the Zerg's day, which is why you don't send that probe scout out nearly as early on post-youth. You know, and at this level, 90% of the probe scout is to make their day uncomfortable, as opposed to actually scouting yourself. Because of the dual edge of it. When you scout that early, either you block their hatchery, which Hero didn't manage to do this time. Solar got his hatch up so quick. But either you block their hatchery, or they don't even try for one, and then you scout the early pool. So, it was a pretty simple process to pick a map to do that early pool, but doesn't quite work out. It looks so good to start too, but you cut into your own economy so much that even if you kill probes, you still got a problem of your own. Alright. Probe still hanging out. Zerglings, now in production. No third base yet from Solar, but I'm sure he's thinking about it. Zergling speed on the way. Looks like a much more standard early game start. There's the Stargate. And I would be surprised to see another Tempest rush, but not entirely shocked, considering the names on the screen. Stargate nearly completed. Adept poking in again. What's it gonna be? Oracle is the choice. The Swiss Army knife. Get whatever scouting you need. Maybe kill some drones. Revelation. All in a relatively expensive and micro-intensive yet effective package. So, what's not to love? Except when they run out of energy. Adept's trying to shade into that little... Oh, wow, he actually completes the shade. Zerglings will get a surround, or close enough on one of the Adepts. Another one runs back Queen. We'll make it out. No Queens to intercept. Oracle coming in, trying to capitalize on any time out of position. Gets 2 drones, and ends up in the orange, as is customary. Wave of Zerglings trying to counterattack into the third base now. Jams into the corner. Probably will not survive the Lings, but forced to light up another Oracle. Second one coming back as well, just trying to play it safe. Twilight and Forge behind. So, Blink Stalkers, the likely option on the agenda now as we go into game number 2. But there's always the alternatives with the Dark Shrine, the Adept Glaives charge, all of which are much more risky but have a greater chance of just winning the game outright. Blink, on the other hand, is less decisive, but you've got everything you need to cover whatever Zerg can come out with. You get enough Blink Stalkers, and Zerglings aren't that scary. You keep the pressure on against Roaches and Ravagers, and you have some built-in anti-air in case they go mutas. Which is, of course, rare, because if they ever get scouted, you already have a Stargate. You have Phoenix's hardest counter out there. But you do have to scout it before it completes. Solar opting for +1 melee for those Zerglings. The Massling style, still an effective one. No Roach Warren. Wait, does he have a Roach Warren? No. No Roach Warren at all for Solar. So very focused on the mass Zergling plays. Meanwhile, the Oracles driven out. The Zerglings thinking about going in, but the third base is well protected despite a small amount of units. He's got a great setup there. And with the Oracle overhead, it can be very difficult for the Zerglings to get in. A cannon in the mineral line. Yeah, sure, the probe's gonna have a bit of an annoying time mining, but it's even harder to mine when you're dead. The more you know. Baneling Nest on the way. Is he just going mass? I mean, why not? Baneling Nest is done. Speed upgrade can't start because the lair isn't there yet. Hero coming out with his first round of Blink Stalkers. Charge on the way. Templar Archives joins production. So, the full Gateway complement coming together. Minus the Dark Shrine, but they kind of get put out on the side as supporting cast as opposed to main army composition. Speaking of supporting cast, the Oracle slaps down a stasis ward. And, oh, Hero! Hero! Oh, no. Forced into a recall because there was nothing at the door. Some more units getting caught out. Zerglings in the main, killing some Stalkers. Only killing 2 probes, despite how far out of position everything was. So, it certainly could have been worse. But every little bit of map control has now been removed. Hero's army was forced all the way back. Solar gets another base, an infestation pit, another Evo chamber, +2 melee, Baneling speed, and a hive started. As he's quite confident now that Hero's going to be bottled up in his base. So, there's a reason. I am not a big fan of this kind of 2 building wall here. It gets you your wall off quicker, makes it a little harder for the Zerg to scout. But it leaves more opportunities for the Zerglings to get in. Of course, if you just leave the door open, that also leaves plenty of opportunities for the Zerglings to get in, so. Adepts shading by. Wave of Banelings is set up. 16 Banelings in production. Baneling speed closing in. Is there a Hydra Den? Is he going Ultras? There's no other tech on the field. There's no Hydra Den, no Lurker Den, no Spire. Just a Ling, Bane, Viper, and Brenda! Well, that's always true, but the Revelation sees the Queens caught between a rock and a hard place. Susan, who had the map here? It's not about a map, Brenda. It's about the pathfinding, okay? It thinks this is closer. Oh, meanwhile, is Storm done? Yes. Wading through, just tanks the Banelings with the Zealots. Very cinematic. Meanwhile, Stalkers being overrun. Ultraless Cavern on the way. And the Zerglings are ripping apart the Stalkers, which, without Storms to back them up, upgraded. They only have +1. They didn't even have adrenal glands. The Zerglings just overrun the Stalkers, but the only saving grace here for Solar, despite that constant aggression, the saving grace is that Hero does not have a robotics. I take it back. He does have a robotics facility. He hasn't built anything out of it yet, but he does have a robo. So that gives some options for Immortals. Yes, there's a fleet beacon on the way. But the Ultraless Cavern on the other side. Ultralisk having a bold choice. And already Immortals in production. Did he spot it? He did not, but it almost feels like the lack of any other information. Like, there hasn't been any Hydras, there have not been any Roaches, nor Lurkers. Okay, so it's either Brood Lords, Ultras, or a very convoluted Lingbane, maybe Swarm Host time. Either way, Immortals and Carriers are going to be key parts of every imbalanced breakfast. And that means Hero angling towards them either way. So, some small skirmishes, attempts at getting damage done. Well, that was awkward. The Banelings trying to figure out where to spend their lives. End up with Archons and killing nothing. So not exactly a great trade. Deja vu. We've just been... Okay, the Storms are good. The Stalkers will survive this time. The Ultras are revealed. Daddy's home. And does Hero... Well, 2 Immortals in production at a time. There's a relatively small window to make use of these Ultras now. As the longer you wait to leverage this tech advantage, or at least the strength of the Ultras, the easier it will be for Hero to deal with it. And there is no follow-up here for Solar. He doesn't have any other tech. There is no to say the same thing again. No Hydra Den, no Lurker Den, no Spire. It's just Ultras, Lings, and Banes. And here we go. The Ultras just wading through the storm. The Banelings getting as close as they can. But there's no anti-air. There's Zerglings at the natural. Just go through the pylon. Meanwhile, Immortals getting caught. 2 of them taken down. Banelings rolling into the mineral line. Hero's done a great job of mitigating the damage thus far. Only 7 probes dead. He's down to 74, which is a perfectly reasonable number at this stage of the game. Another wave. We've got a Spire finally on the way. Solar inspired to not outright lose the game because of a lack of anti-air. More Zerglings in production. Another wave of Zerglings. How many Ultras? It's gonna have 5 Ultras in total. Oh, another incredible storm. Softens up pretty much every single Zergling. Another wave. The storm zoning out. Solar. He gets in again. Bashes through the non-existent wall. Can easily take down a cannon. Those are, well, 3-2 Lings. Like 6 of them easily take a cannon. At this stage, Banelings not finding much purchase, but the Zerglings get into the main base again. The Carriers have arrived. The Queens are still pushing the creep forward. Hero has maintained his economy. Another wave of Ultras, but behind it, the Queens! The Queens are in the fray. He pulls back to the Queens for transfuses on the Ultras. There's still 1 Zergling in the main. And the Queens are the extent of the anti-air against the Carriers right now. 5 Carriers in total. Mothership is complete. Corruptors yet again pulled into the production tab and onto the field. But again, Hero has this later game army. A high-value Protoss army. There are Ultras, but no Vipers. And the upgrades for the Corruptors are quite poor. In fact, he's just starting with +1 Carapace. Hero already has +2 air weapons, which is such a key part of going Carrier. So many players will only start upgrading the air as they start building, but those without those air upgrades for Protoss, you end up doing so little damage, especially because players like Solar will upgrade Carapace. And we brought it all around. Meanwhile, the Blink Stalker's coming forward. Zerglings angling towards the north again. The Mothership anchoring things down. She's got quite a gravity well about her. Sometimes it even warps time and space. They modeled after your mother. Now the Ultras are moving forward. And the Storms onto the Corruptors. Some of them floating away. The rest getting transfused as the Queens. The real supporting cast indeed. The true one at this case. In this case. At this case? Why would... No, that doesn't make any sense. Stalkers poking at the Ultra, who allegedly has chitinous plating, but the +3 weapons doing quite a number on it. The Zerglings and Ultras just chewing through the northern side. Active cloaking denies any sight. And now, Ultras. Cleaving through only 10 probes so far. Hero's down to 58. He's struggling to take a 5th base, whereas Solar has about his entire half the map. So, Hero holding it down. He still has quite a strong Protoss army. He's working on +3 air weapons. And again, the Ultras challenging the Queens, but he's on top of everything. Any storms will be on top of his own carriers. And Hero, late on the draw, gonna get the carriers chased down. Still some Archons underneath. The Queens are off a creep. Will be chased on the ground by the Immortals and Zealots, and many of them will be cut down. But Hero ends up getting so many of his carriers knocked out of the sky. His supply will be brought down with him. But the ground army is quite punishing. The Corruptors looking to snipe a carrier, not finding any other targets. The ground army still consists of 6 Immortals and 4 Archons, and right now, there's only 26 Zerglings and 16 Banelings on the ground, but 7 Ultras are about to pop out, which may or may not be enough. There's still so many Immortals, and those things, appropriately, don't die easy. Lings and Banes crashing, and the final carrier taken down. There's really no more purpose here for the Corruptors. They will fly off into the sunset, metaphorically. The Immortals are exploderating the Ultralisks as they target them down one by one. Even if they had transfuses, the Queens wouldn't be nearly enough. And Solar's supply still slightly ahead, but his G count in the chat is 2 behind. Or ahead as well. I don't know. Either way, Hero ends up taking it down as there is no real follow-up. Solar doesn't have anything that could beat that army on the ground. That's why I said there's a timing window where the Ultras are effective. All right, they're like the Kool-Aid man. It's about the element of surprise. But if you stay on the Ultras for too long, as a great man once said, Hydra, when I'm really far ahead and I want to lose, I build Ultras. Now, Solar wasn't far ahead, and I doubt he wanted to lose, but he did get stuck on the Ultras, and it happened anyways, so. Well, game 3. As Hero, now on match point. We'll see if things change on side Delta. But Solar is the best of the rest of Zergs, which is quite a disparaging way to talk about a GSL champion. But Solar always feels like Cyril's stunt double, where just a step behind in dealing with those late game compositions. He's an incredibly competent mid-game macro player. But every Zerg, outside of a very select few, I can count on 2 fingers, maybe 3, but the third one is a bit more questionable. Okay, outside of Cyril, Dark, and Raynor, all 3 for 3 very different reasons. Outside of those players, playing against late game Protoss or Terran is a difficult experience, especially against a top tier player. And we see Solar making that age-old mistake of thinking that quantity is a substitute entirely for quality. He had no Vipers, he had no Infestors, he was reliant entirely on Ultras. And Hero, while he may make some dramatic mistakes from time to time, that's backstopped by his top-tier tactics and killer instinct. He has a tendency to just win games outright that it seems like he has no right to. Well, Game 1 is a great example. Game 1, he defends, but ends up getting ground down by Solar's just continual, inexorable timings. And then just like that, wham bam, thank you ma'am, DTs in every base, detection's gone, supply flips 50 in the span of that many seconds, and suddenly Heroes won the game. So really, you gotta hedge your bets when it comes to late game Zerg, and make sure you already have the options ready, because good luck playing from behind on the tech tree. Stargate on the way. That is not to take anything away from Hero's immaculate defense. He defended 3-4 bases from Zerglings. And why were they in 3-4 bases? Because he didn't have a unit in the wall. But like I said, happy little accidents. But Hero managed to defend all his bases and only lose like 5 to 10 probes against the entire army of Solar, which certainly set the tone for the very late game. How many times have I used that phrase? Let's not think about it. Okay, that really sets the tone for the phrases we're using today. That tone, grating. Like and subscribe for more musical commentary. Just beat it. No, that's it. By Micro Jackson. Oracle burns through some larva, which a easy and defenseless target for rampaging, murderous, bloodthirsty Protoss oracles. It's odd that they thirst for blood, considering that Protoss don't have mouths, and I think oracles are robots anyways. Not actually sure what's happening there, if they have like pilots or if they're like robotic. They're mechanical, but that might just be the shell around the oracle. And then the oracle is like the mind essence of a really angry street lamp or something. Moving on. 5 drones on the way. As Solar tries to stabilize his economy after the early pokes and prods that are likely to happen in this matchup. Blink and +1 is the choice yet again for Hero. Adepts. 2 kills. The Oracle's coming around. 10 more drones on the way. Pretty quick lair out of Solar as well. Angling for the Roach one, not trying the mass. Oh, the Spore! Oof. Taking a lot of damage on those Oracles. A weird turn there, I think coinciding with the Select All army on the other side to deal with the Zerglings. And slaps down a Revelation. If he is watching, he will actually notice the timing of the lair completing as well. Giving him a bit of an indicator as to when things like road speed can happen. Oracle's coming back in for more. The Queen's politely yet firmly asks them to leave. And even more damage taken. Slaps a couple Revelations. Just happening on through. A fact-finding tour for these oracles. Blink is nearly complete. Charge on the way behind. I'm gonna spot the Overseer as well. The Blink Stalkers will chase it down. The typical panic changeling. Will not last. Infestation pit for Solar. Whether it's for Swarm Hosts or Hive or both, remains to be seen, but there's the Hydra Den, so he's avoided lurkers thus far, but it feels like to his detriment. So Game 3 may feature them. Hero keeping the pressure on. Is there enough time to actually react to this for Solar, who doesn't have that much army supply of his own? Stasis behind. Small contingent of Zerglings. Gonna try to dive in, but Hero is ready. He's got the Adept in the wall. Stalker behind. Solar willing to try it there. There's the Hive, 7 minutes in. Lurker Den as well. They take the same amount of time, so convenient timing. Oracle's heading for the mineral line. The Queens They'll zone him out for now. Hero's taking a 4th base. 74 workers apiece. Solar just now popping out a few more. Will they, won't they, back and forth here. Almost no units killed. And by that I mean 8 drones, 16 Zerglings, an Overlord and Overseer, and then also 3 Adepts. So, okay. Well, if Zergs don't really count as people, then pretty much no units killed. Overseer gets away with the skin of its weird teeth. 1 HP. Lurker then done. Should be... We'll see if he goes Lurker Speed Burrow first. Usually range. The range upgrade, much more reliable. There are some timings that rely on that very quick burrow speed, but much better to have the range, unless you have something specific in mind. And again, for 3 games in a row, the Fleet Beacon is on the way. What will it be this time? This feels like a carrier time. +1 air weapons on the way for Protoss. Down goes the Overseer. Wait, did he spot? He didn't spot anything. No, nothing surprising there. Tempest. Tempest, a more direct damage option, especially against things like lurkers. But at the same time, they don't have the outright killing potential of carriers, as we've seen multiple times in this series. The Tempests are a lower hanging choice. So I'm interested to see how they do yet again. It's starting to get a bit suspicious how actively he's denying this scouting. I think you have to assume at this stage of the game that he's going for Fleet Beacon. The fact that Hero has not tried to move out and get damage done with what should be a maxed out army means he's certainly teching up significantly further. The mothership's on the way. For Solar, a Nidus, Adrenal Glands, +1 melee, +2 ranged attack, and Lurker Burrow Speed. So he's got those Adrenal Glands as well. Don't know if I mentioned that, but the Lurkers are dunked down outside the 3rd. The Tempest already shelling them. Slaps a Revelation. He's kept the Oracles alive the whole time. Very helpful. Trying the natural, but there are so many cannons already scattered in there. Hero's just building this death ball with the Tempest and the Templar. Anything but temporary when dealing with it. And trying to warp it some more. Breaks down the pylon. The Zerglings get into the main. He's trying to take this opportunity. This distraction. He gets on top of the Templar. The storms are pretty good. The Lurkers will back off for now. Zerglings in the main base. Adrenal Glands now done. Not sure exactly what's happening in the main. We'll check in a moment. But the Queens, weathering it for now. The Fleet Beacon! Oh no! That thing's important! Oh my, and the Twilight Counter, which is somewhat less important at this stage, but still kind of a big deal. He got the Fleet Beacon with Zerglings. The Hero Zerglings really ripping into Hero. And now Aspira's on the way. So very important for Solar. He now knows, at least for a time, that Hero won't be adding on to his tier 3 unit count, his capital ships. So there will be an opportunity to wipe him out of the sky and kind of reset the game there. Meanwhile, a whole bunch of roaches and lings into the natural yet again, as Hero is yet to really hold on to that wall. Those Zerglings just ripping apart buildings. Pulling them apart, each claw at a time. And the Zealots are no match for the Adrenalings, even with only 1-2 upgrades. Those Adrenal Glands are insane. Meanwhile, the Storms, though, making things very difficult. He's moving forward yet again. The Spine Crawler gonna try to help out. The Lurker Spine's doing much more. 4 drones dead. The Roaches are still in the base. Another wave of Zerglings getting in. Solar manages to kill a hatchery, technically 2. And it looks like he wants to recall now. based on how he's positioning those units. Or not. Or you can just sit there. That also works. The Zerglings, slowly but surely. There's another fleet beacon. Zerglings take out the tube toy pylon in the center, which I think was mostly for that purpose. Maybe a few weapons. Oh no! Well, the Zealots, the shield battery overcharges to reshield it. Are there any more units in the base? Maybe he can kill the Cyber Core? No. Dark Shrine on the way yet again. And the Tempest complementing the army. The Templar Archives. Oh my, these Zerglings keep sniping off. They keep ripping off branches of the tech tree of the things. Yanks in the mothership. Doesn't kill it. What a save with the time warp. And then wanders right into the Corruptors again, but the idea was good. So for a moment there, it looked pretty good. The Lurkers are moving forward though. Storms. Oh my god, he just eviscerated the Stalkers. Hero loses an entire wave. Another Stargate dies. The Zerglings going beneath his notice. The Zerglings just keep getting in. If the Zerglings hadn't continually reset the tech tree, I think Hero would be knocking on the door to victory right now. But he's got to put his own house in order before he can go ruin Solars. 4 Dark Templar just warped in. It's a robotics facility, Templar Archives. I don't know which ones are rebuilt and which ones are being added on. No, definitely the Templar Archives is being rebuilt. The Zealot's taken down. Stalkers just... Oh, that's kind of an odd situation. The Hydra's moved to intercept. Solar has way more army supply, as he has less workers right now. The Templar out in front. Tempest shelling. Hero with the forward shield batteries. Greater Spire's on the way. Zerglings in the main again! A Tempest is gonna try to help take him out. More Zealots warped in. The Forge, Dark Templar warped in to defend, which should give Solar a little more warning. Another base, though, exposed. And Hero's right on top of it. Hero has not been really giving up any ground. I think there's still a Nidus up there to the north side. I never found a lot. Parasitic Bomb is all over the whole army, though. Parasitic Bomb gets through all the shields, and Artosis Pylon depowers the entirety. Was that all powered by one Hero? Oh my. And the entirety of the defense has been shut down. And the Zerglings can work through it at their leisure. The Corruptors dodging storms. Hero is kind of boxed out of his own base. And it looked like he was locking down his position and closing in on a victory. But again, the Zerglings dismantled the defenses. And suddenly Hero's back to 4 bases. He abandons a couple Templar and a bunch of Archons to the Lurkers and the Corruptors. And he's down to 4 bases against a 5-base Zerg. As Solar has reestablished the southern side, he's rebuilding his drones. And Hero is going to be mining out of his main momentarily. The gas is already gone. The minerals are following suit. And another set. Well, the Zerglings will get a hold of these Zealots as well. Rip them apart. Carapace level 2 about to complete. Those Zerglings got even more dangerous now. Zealots trying to chase them down. Still no easy response to the Tempest. He's been building mass Corruptor, but until... Well, while there's still Templar, there is no easy answer to the Tempest. The Queens... Oh no, they've had enough of it. Another Queen dead. And another one bites the dust. Regicide. Zealots shredded by the Lurkers. Another Tempest gets yanked in, but Solar's kind of low on the minerals. Neither player has anything in the bank. They're barely maxed. An Infestor throws out a Fungal, gonna try to finish these off. Jumps forward. Here are the Broodlords. Just as he deals with the Tempest, but wading through the storms. Stasis actually stalls out the Broodlings, which will effectively kill them. as they still time out under the stasis. 5 more corruptors on the way. Another... Is that a mothership? What are you doing here? Oh my... The queen's getting obliterated. He has no queens left. Well, down with the monarchy. But... That's unfortunate. With no queens, the larva production is going to be lackluster, but the mineral production is already pretty rough right now, so I'm not sure if that's going to make the difference. Drones on the wrong side of the story, but Solar clearly looking the other way. The drones will eat some of the Tempest hits, I guess. Clearly intentional, but the Viper, the mothership gets yanked in and the Corruptors will knock her down. But the Broodlords are chasing down the Lurkers underneath. The double Zerg siege up against the closest version here from the Protoss, the Tempest and the Templar. Ooh. Those Tempests just... Unlike carriers, they're guaranteed damage. That is why there's such a nuisance here for Solar. They're going to get... carriers really struggle to concentrate their fire most of the time. You don't usually want to clump up your interceptors, because then they die to your own storms or parasitic bomb and stuff like that. But the Tempest struggling to grind through the Lurkers quickly enough. And there's still a lot of Broodlords overhead. 13 Broodlords. Yanks at another Tempest or 2. Knocks them both down. Shield battery overcharge helps out a bit, but there's still immortals underneath. Meanwhile, the ground army, and by ground army, I mean like 24 stalkers, is working on one of Solar's only mining bases. And this is becoming more and more desperate for the Korean Zerg. Well, Hero also not having a great go of it, but the immortals are pounding through the Lurkers. There's 2 or 3 more underneath. He's still got an observer there. The Corruptor's on top of the Tempest. And almost dead even exchange. The Broodlords are still... Well, the thing is, there's no more anti-air. There's 1 Corruptor. That is the deciding factor here. The Stalkers! Totally not using... Oh no, the Vipers. The Vipers could be intercepted. He blinks forward. The Vipers are in position. He manages to burrow 1 Lurker, but there are Stalkers from either side. And the Broodlords are being surrounded. Broodlords on their own aren't enough. He yanks in the Tempest, says, hey, look at my Broodlords. And it does. And then takes it out on it. And Hero reinforces. Solar has nothing in the bank. They pummel each other into oblivion. But at the end of the day, rising from the ashes is a hero. What a scrappy set of games. Solar left with no economy left. He still had 54 drones, which means only 20 army supply at the end. But he wasn't mining from anywhere with anything. At long distance mining with drones at the 20-minute mark means things have gone horribly, horribly wrong. Or right, I guess, but probably wrong. Meanwhile, Hero was also struggling for income, but he still had the standing army in the form of Blink Stalkers in order to take it home. So, at the end of the day, Hero with a clean sweep in terms of wins. Certainly not the cleanest games, but clean enough in order to take it home. Whew. Well, that was a bit of a roller coaster, but hopefully you enjoyed the ride, and hopefully it made your day just a little bit better. Thank you for watching. If you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.